Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, an extra sloppy sports and entertainment talk show about the New York Giants, the New York Mets, movies, TV, comedy, and life in general. It's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a plump and furry Irish Italian American who graduated from a Catholic high school but isn't Catholic, and a college known for producing doctors and lacrosse players. And then I became neither. Instead, I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler. You can leave me a voicemail, 862-BIT-1986. That's 8, and the number 6, and then 2, and then the word bit, as in comedy bit, or as in Charlie bit me, Charlie bit my finger, and then 1986, the year my wife was born. Not sure if that should be public knowledge. You can subscribe to Giant Mess on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Neal Lynch or youtube.com/Real Cinch. You can follow me on my official blog, neallynch.com. If you don't know how to spell my name, just throw it in the Googs. Throw it in the Google machine, see what pops out. You can also follow me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Giant Mess. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, Real Cinch on both of those. And make sure to subscribe to me wherever you listen to your podcasts, whether it be Apple, Spotify, maybe even Spreaker, Stitcher. Stitcher just got acquired by SiriusXM. So there's that. I don't know if you are into like podcast news, but there's that breaking news. I don't know how breaking it is. On today's episode, we're going to recap the Giants Washington football team Week 6 game. We're going to explore the possibility of a surprise trade candidate for the Giants, Los Gigantes. We'll preview the Week 7 game against the Philadelphia Smeagol's on Thursday Night Football. And then we'll finish up with the Mets. We'll talk a little bit about the arbitration eligible players for 2021. What kind of salaries are they going to get? Because that's where we are in Mets news world right now. So let's get started. Let's dive right on in with a little bit about life. What's going on in my life? I mean, it's dad life, husband life. It's I've been eating like shit lately. Just really bad stuff. We did takeout pickup 2 nights in a row, Friday night and Saturday night. Friday night I got some sushi. Haven't had some sushi in a while. And we got sushi pizza, which is like amazing stuff. A Mexican roll, mango ya, lacko spicy, seaweed salad, veggie gyoza, chicken tempura for the little babes, and then a Fairfield roll. And I can't tell you what's on any of that stuff. I can't even remember. My memory's gone to complete shit. All I know is it was good, and I probably ate most of it. It was like a love platter. We get 5 special rolls. And I just like salmon, I'm kind of anti-salmon. I don't know. I had a bad salmon once. It only takes once with the fish for your taste to go completely anti. But when I went to pick it up, no one delivers anymore. The delivery times, both of these times that we ordered the food, we did not want to pick it up. We wanted delivery. That's the whole point of getting food and not going out, is that you get it come to you because you're super lazy. And neither time, it was like a call. Hey, want to place an order for delivery? It says that you deliver on Yelp. It says you deliver on your website. And when I call you and I say I want to place an order for delivery, and you, with a straight face and a straight voice, in a straight manner, tell me we don't deliver. I understand it's COVID. I mean, it's the never-ending COVID. We're never going to get a vaccine. There's no more delivery. That's just how it is. But I was like, all right, fuck it. It's like a mile or 2 away. So I go to pick it up and pull in, and there's a dude like hanging outside smoking a cigarette right in front of the entrance. And racism brain kicks in. It's a sushi place, Asian looking fella. And he's out, and I'm thinking to myself, whoa, is this like a curbside delivery type situation? Like, should I wait in my car? He waved to me, I'm waving to him. Like, do I need to get out of my car? Should I not? What's happening here? Nope, just a guy smoking a cigarette outside in front of the sushi place. I'm pretty sure he worked there, but it was a little like, what? What are you? Do you bring to me? Do I go to you? Night at the Roxbury. So I go in, and it's like the whole counter where the register is. And most places are like this now, where it's just shrouded in like the car wash flaps, plastic car wash flaps. Like, excuse our appearance, we're remodeling, that kind of look. Like, oh boy, we're this kitchen renovation, this reno taking forever. But that's what it looks like. And I get in there first. This other dude just walks, like, I'm just waiting to tell the lady patiently, that I'm here to pick an order for Neil, the name I gave you. This motherfucker waltzes in, goes straight to the cash register, and he starts like putting his hands through the flaps and like touching all the delivery, the orders that are ready. And I'm sitting there going, what's happening here? Is this the delivery guy that doesn't deliver? And he just starts rattling off things that he ordered. But like one at a time. He doesn't give his name. And he's just like, dragon roll. And the lady's just sitting there like, what's happening right here? Like, she could have very easily said, what's your name? What's the name on the order that you gave us to pick up? But she was just rattled that it wasn't ready in time for this dude, because they must have some kind of 100% ready rate at this sushi place, and they don't want that streak ruined, apparently. And the guy just rattles off like random things he ordered, never gives a name. And then he's like, I called in like 10 minutes ago. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, I mean, I understand that most Chinese restaurants, Japanese restaurants, they work quick. All right. There's no doubt about it. The quickest of all the restaurants. It's suspiciously quick how fast they work. So I can understand how you think that 10 minutes is doable. No, dude. 15 minimum. And so I don't even know if he gave the name, but it was like, yeah. Eventually, she came to the conclusion that she checked with her cohort to her side and was like, yeah, no, it's not ready. Like, settle down. So, but picked it up, went on my way. I gotta say though, it was like the order ended up being like 80 some odd dollars. It was 50 some odd dollars for the platter. That means that the chicken tempura, the gyoza, and the seaweed salad almost totaled like $30. Something like 20 some odd bucks. The seaweed salad was like 5 strings of seaweed. The gyoza, not big stuff, not big. And, the chicken tempura is like little mini half of a chicken McNugget. But I guess they use actually like good parts of the chicken, maybe. I don't know. But a little bit of a ripoff with the sides. Like, let's just cool it with the pricing on the sides. I mean, thank you for the deal on the platter, special roll platter. But man, they make a killing, huh? We ended up playing heads up that night. I guess it was Friday night. And my wife is just outstanding when it comes to clues that you give on heads up. I think I might have told this story. The clue was, the genre was like probably music or something. The category was like maybe 90s music or rap and hip hop or something like that. Icons of the 90s or something like that. And the clue is, so I'm the one holding it. She's the one shouting clues at me. And she does like to shout the clues. And she just repeats, and she does the thing where, and I most people do this. I know I do it too, in a pinch where you're just hurried. You just repeat the clue louder, as if the person didn't hear you. And you slow it down and you increase the pitch and the volume. So like, Oof. Burger King. Impromptu Burger King and Apple Crisp coming back up on me right now. And this White Claw's not helping things. So she screams West Coast Biggie. And I mean, you know, that's a pretty spot on clue. When you say West Coast Biggie, not many other names pop into the old dome. So that's Tupac. This go round, the first clue or hint she gave on one of the words was the guy in the character, the doll character in Saw, like the villain in Saw. And I said, Jigsaw? Is that allowed? Am I allowed to? And then she just spiraled. She was like, wait, so, oh my God, I never realized that the main villain in Saw is named Jigsaw. And that's why they named it Saw? Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I'm thinking to myself, are you an idiot? Like, because I'm pretty sure the first Saw had an actual saw that the guy used, you know, spoiler, to cut off his foot to escape. So, I mean, that was one of the, like, the big, not puzzle. I mean, I guess it is a puzzle. It's a torture puzzle. But yeah, Jigsaw. Is that why they call the franchise Saw? Oh, maybe. I don't know. Is it short for Jigsaw? I never thought about it that way. I just thought, okay, first movie had a actual saw that you use to like saw off a limb. And then this guy's Jigsaw, and he likes to come up with these weird, demented games and puzzles. This one particular game or puzzle had a saw. So there's like, and it seems so obvious. You know, she was like, "Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I never put two and two together that the Saw franchise was named after the character Jigsaw." I was just like, I don't know that you're necessarily wrong or right on that. It's one of those things that's just like, yeah, I don't know. So there was that clue. And then the next clue was the one that really did me and that had me in stitches, where it's the clue was she just kept screaming, zombie comedy in the mall, zombie comedy in the mall, zombie comedy in the mall, louder and louder and louder, and just at my face and would get closer to my face, screaming it into my brain as if like that would jar something loose. And I was just like, I mean, like Zombieland 2, that was in a mall. It's a zombie comedy. And she was just like, no. And then finally she just said, I was like, well, Dawn of the Dead was in the mall. She's like, the British zombie comedy. I was like, Shaun of the Dead. But Shaun of the Dead, not in a mall. Shaun of the Dead, a play on Dawn of the Dead, which was in a mall, but Shaun of the Dead, not in a mall. So Tommy technical over here. That's how, okay. I can't really, you know, it's a blessing and a curse, I'll tell you that much. We ended up watching Silence of the Lambs because my wife has not seen it since she was a kid, which is in and of itself is a little weird. That she watched it as a kid. But I mean, hey, it came out when I was, 11, 10? And I remember, it's been a while since I've watched it. I can't remember. It's been probably more than a decade since I've seen Silence of the Lambs. But she hasn't seen it since she was a kid. So I can only imagine what the rewatch brought out of her. But man, that's a good movie. I know it's you know, historically always been classified as one of the greats, one of the classics, but you just watch, if you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again. So good. And I think, you know, what stuck with her, with my wife, was that it was, you know, female protagonist in a male dominated profession, law enforcement / FBI, and seeing what she had to go through, you know, being kind of one of the only women in the academy that has a male boss and is working with male coworkers. And seeing that struggle, but also, trying to appeal to this like just mental terrorist. I mean, wow. You get so used to, I think I mentioned this with some other movies too. Maybe like not Rocky, Rambo, the original Rambo. You get so used to so many different takes and spoofs and parodies and twists on that character that it doesn't, you almost lose your grasp on the original character and how good they are. And I think that's happened with like Hannibal Lecter, is that you have so many caricatures and impersonations, impressions of him that you lose the, like, you kind of lose the, I guess, I don't know, the appeal, the gravitas. Like, it becomes a cartoon and it doesn't feel real anymore. And then shit, man, I watched it again. This is the first time in more than a decade, and I was like, just what an intense performance by Anthony Hopkins. Ooh. And the shots, the cinematography, you don't really, when you're younger, you don't really pick up on that shit. But watching it this time was like a lot of like, you know, which you don't see in a lot of movies, but direct to camera. So like the characters looking direct in the camera, direct at the audience, and doing the cut A B cut back and forth between the two characters, but they're both looking into the camera. And intense. It makes you a little uncomfortable. You're like, whoa, this dude is like staring deep into my soul. What is he looking at? What is he seeing? And the fact that he can make someone swallow someone's tongue just from the gift of gab. Holy macaroni. Also, Buffalo Bill. That guy, Ted Levine, he's been in other stuff. But like, it's kind of interesting to me that he never really did anything bigger or better than Buffalo Bill. I mean, I guess you could say the same for Anthony. I guess you could say the same for Anthony Hopkins. Like if you say what character for Anthony Hopkins tops Hannibal Lecter? I mean, I can't name one off the top of my head. Great actor, lots of roles, not denying that, but is Hannibal Lecter his best? Yeah, probably. I would think. I mean, I loved him in Westworld, but this still doesn't really compare. And then Ted Levine, he's been in a bunch of shit. He was just in that Jurassic World movie recently. But I feel like they did not embrace the Buffalo Bill-esque side of him. There was little like hints of it in his performance, but just wasn't the same. And if it sounds like it's fucking raining inside my house right now on this podcast, it's because the dishwasher has decided to probably sprung a leak. I mean, my history in my relationship with dishwashers has been atrocious at best. They're so goddamn delicate. And I'm so goddamn jacked. Not. So yeah, give Silence of the Lambs a gander. What a movie. And that whole, I mean, yeah, it's just, and we watched it like until like almost 2 a.m. Probably not a great, like right before bedtime movie to throw on. Definitely had some interesting dreams. That and The Haunting of Bly Manor. We watched that, I guess, on Sunday night, I think. Yeah. Haunting of Bly Manor. So this is, I guess, their Netflix is. So there was Haunting of Hill House, which I believe was 2 years ago, which was really good, but also really fucking scary. I'm pretty sure I averaged a night terror and a half per night after watching that. And this is like another, I guess this is similar concept, but different setting, but like also has the same characters, same actors, sort of like, American Horror Story, kind of like that, but with hauntings of different estates and properties. I mean, by now, if you get like a mansion, you're signing up for ghosts. It's so interesting how hauntings, they're never in like your shitty shoebox apartment. It's always like a big glorious estate or mansion. Why is that? Why can't it be just like, hey, this is my teepee. This is my hut. This is my trailer and it's haunted. Nope. It's always these big, massive establishments. I don't know. Maybe someone can clue me in, but it just seems a little odd to me. So yeah, Haunting of Bly Manor. We've only watched one episode, but again, my wife does this thing where she's like, "Yeah, let's put it on," and then about like 2 to 5 minutes in, she's like, "Should we be watching this? Is this too scary?" It's like, well, if you're asking, it probably is. But I liked it. I mean, kids, creepy kids. I mean, why she took this job? I don't know. Basically, it's a teacher from America who's like in London. She, I guess, had too much stress or pressure from teaching like 25 kids at a time, which I'm sure every teacher is probably in that same boat. Like, get me out of here. But she ends up in London. She's in her mid 20s, late 20s, maybe, and responds to an ad in the paper. So it's not like modern day. I'd say I think it's in the 80s, maybe 90s. No, I'm an idiot. It was like 2007. No, that was when. Okay, you know what? It's not modern. It's not like this year. It's not Corona laced with Corona. So she responds to an ad, goes to the interview. Dude who apparently was Elliot in E.T., I believe. He's all grown up. He's a hoity-toity, successful businessman who has a nephew and niece in this big-ass manor. Their parents died. We don't know how. Their most recent caretaker, nanny, live-in, what do you ever want to call it, au pair? I don't know. She committed suicide. And so now this woman's like, yeah, I'd love to have this job. But you also see that she has like some spookalicious ghouls or entities following her ass. So it's like, why did she take this job? I don't know. Maybe to like drop the ghost off. Like, hey, I know you've been like bothering me. Here's some other ghosts you can play with, so you can leave me alone. That'd be great. Thanks. But only one episode in, but it was possibly too scary. I don't know. I remember Haunting of Hill House was pretty like, holy shit, dude. So I don't know. I got to load up on the wine and the CBD. That usually helps. That the dream I had that night after witnessing that, especially all the foods we had, because we went down to the shore to visit some friends for a football watch party to watch the Giants take on the Washington football team. And they served the kids like chicken tenders, chicken nuggets, and then every other dish was like pork based. See, this is where I get a little confused. Salami and pepperoni is pig, correct? I know that's the biggest, dumbest question I've ever asked, but because they served pulled pork. We had a friend who slow cooked some pulled pork, which was amazing. And then all the little dishes that they were serving was like pepperoni stromboli, sausage stromboli cut up, and then actual slices of pepperoni, actual slices of salami. There was just all cured meats and pork products. I don't think there was anything outside of the pork family there. So I had the pork sweats going on because I'm like burping and farting up pork the whole night. And then you throw in a little wine and some CBD and some various cheeses that were at the party as well. And it was just a recipe for disaster. And it manifested into one hell of a dream where, and this is like a recurring dream too, where it's just like, I am sans wallet, which is not a shocker. If you're talking about my 20s, without my wallet, don't know where it is, without shoes, which has happened a couple of times, and dirty, smelly, disheveled, making my way through a huge, like, I guess a mall / hotel. That's how big this fucking thing is. It's like it's like the Mall of America, the world's greatest mall, whatever's in Minnesota. and then put a hotel on top of it, like a skyscraper hotel on top of that. And that's what I'm trying to navigate my way through to get to my room so I can check out, so I can go catch my airplane. I mean, dude, you want to talk about a stress stream? I'll show you a stress stream. They should make the haunting of Neal Lynch, the haunting of Neal's mind, and just I'll walk you through every fucking recurring nightmare I have, and it'll win every Emmy in the goddamn under the sun. Okay. Yeah, the party was cool. I enjoyed the party. Got to meet my friend's girlfriend, where, I had the first time meeting her, and she was extremely nice. And my friend's like, oh yeah, she lives in the blank. The name he gave the name of the place where we used to live. But I couldn't remember. We've moved 1, 2, 3 times since we've lived there. And so the name like kind of rang a bell. It was like the word entered my head, and like a little fizzle was like, kind of like a Roman candle, like small Roman candle, just like, I was like, that sounds familiar. And then I couldn't say anything because I couldn't remember anything. And so then I like, luckily, I think someone like slapped me on the ass, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And I like got out of it. But then I had to circle back to it because I felt like that was an opener. That was an icebreaker. And I fucked it up. And eventually remembered estuary. And then I remembered, Weehawken. And I just gave away where she lives. So hopefully no one's stalking her. No one can find out where she lives. I just gave away the name of the building and the town. Way to go, Neal. Fuck. But that place is awesome. It's got everything. It's super duper awesome. I mean, I might as well pitch you on it now. I mean, they really fucked us over. Like when we tried to get out of the apartment, my wife dumped probably like 3 bags of kitty litter down the toilet, but that's besides the point. On our way out, but they did screw us on the security deposit. But it's got a nice courtyard with like pool table, bocce court, cornhole, grills, TVs, fireplace. It's got everything. And then on the inside, it's got like a golf simulator, movie theater. I mean, I really wish we didn't have to move out of that apartment because I did like it a lot. But given our circumstances, we had to make the move. We had for my wife's sanity, pretty much. I think that was it. But great place. One of the 2-year-olds, because the kids were invited too, and so everyone got to meet. Most of them got to meet my daughter for the first time, and that was a thrill, as they got to see that I didn't completely fuck her up in 2 years of having her, that she's somewhat normal and put together a little bit. She didn't really freak out that much. She did. I'll never understand this about toddlers. The whole possession thing, mine. She's like the seagull from Finding Nemo. Ugh. Never really understood that. Like mine. Eleanor. Sorry, I gave away another kid's name. Jesus Christ. There's no protecting the innocent on this show. But she had a toy shopping cart, little small shopping cart made for little girls to push around and feel like they are the consumer that they one day aspire to be. And Bree sees this, had less than 0 interest in this fucking cart before this other girl brought it out. And then as soon as she saw the girl pushing it, I was like, that is now mine. And then it went over, and she's, they're basically the same age, but Bree is just like a fucking brick house. She is thick with about 8 C's at the end. So she just like muscled her out of the way, boxed her out like I was going to say Dwight Howard, but is he even like, I know he just won a championship, but it's more like Anthony Davis. We'll go with Anthony Davis in the paint. And then I have to go over, and of course the parents had to like do their own thing with the kids. So like the other girl's mom says, it's her turn now. You have to share. And I'm going, we're just trying to give it back to the other kid. Like, it's just like a tug of war to see like who can get the cart back to the other kid. And so I eventually had to make a trade with a basketball. Like, here's a basketball, and then take the cart and give it back to the other girl. But like, it's so weird that you can see our kid knows what's going on. When I'm sitting there and I'm telling her, we take turns, we share, we take turns, we share. And she, even when and I'm like trying to tell her as she's walking away, she's not playing, like, it's not your typical like walking with the cart as if I'm playing. It's the kind of almost guilt-ridden, shameful, slow walk away with the cart. Like, I know I'm doing something wrong, but I'm gonna push it to the limit. Kids, man. And the one couple had 4 kids, and that same girl who had the cart stolen, God bless her soul, she's so cute, wandered off twice and incited just mayhem and panic. There was one time where she was just like at the top of a hill about to enter a street. The other time she was like on the side of the house about to go into the other street. 4 kids, man. God bless them. 4 kids. Both of my grandmothers and grandfathers had 4 kids. Both. One had 4 boys, which is just like, I don't even know. But the curious thing about that is like the 4 boys were spaced out. It was like my dad, my uncle 8 years later, my other uncle 7 years later, and then my third uncle 7 years after that, and then my other uncle 2 or 3 years after that. So my dad was like 18 when my last uncle was born. So it's like, at least you space it out a little bit, Yeah, the first one when you're 20, and the last one when you're 38, and then it's much more manageable. But the 4 kids within, like, I want to say 12 years, that's a kid every almost 2-3 years. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how you do it, because you're outmanned, you're outgunned. You got eyes on 2, and then you got to hope that your partner has eyes on the other 2. I mean, we're not, we're kind of struggling with 1. We're tag teaming 1, and we're still failing. But some good drinks. I had some good drinks. Canteen vodka soda, never had that. That was delish. 5% alcohol, refreshing. Lighthearted ale, which was an IPA. I loved like the design of the can, the graphic design on the can, but the taste. I'm just not an IPA guy. I mean, IPAs could cease to exist tomorrow, and I don't think the world would be a worser place. A Truly, Coors Light, and a Sam Adams Jacko Pumpkin Ale. All of which so good. So goddamn good. So yeah, it was good to see everyone. I didn't really get to watch too much of the game because it was like, you got to keep your eyes on the kid, because it's like, with the 2-year-old, that's the thing. Most of these kids were not. There was one other 2-year-old, and the other kids are like probably 6 or older, 5 or older. Like, they're walking, they're forming full sentences. They can basically take care of themselves. Whereas like Brie is like 2, and like the other 2-year-old, they're just easily can go rogue, can go AWOL any second. So you kind of have to like keep one eye on the game and then one eye on the kiddo. She held her own though. She wanted to like play basketball with all the other kids. She loves hanging out with the boys. At one point I look out and it's just like all dudes and her. And I'm just like, that's cute now, but I don't know about in a couple years. I had my other friend, his wife is now pregnant. They have their firstborn was a son, a boy, and then the second is going to be a girl. So he's like, what am I looking at with this daughter on the way? Like, what's in store for me? And I was like, it's actually pretty awesome right now, you know. It's when she gets her period that it's gonna go up in flames. Everything when she gets, the period, and then she starts dating. It's like, oh boy, it's gonna be like, check please. But as of right now, it's pretty awesome. So if I could just tag someone else in for when that first flow enters on the scene, that'd be great. Also continue to watch Umbrella Academy. I can't say enough positive things about it. So good. Oh, and then I guess Saturday we tried to watch Hubie Halloween. And, it was something that I've been playing around with, teasing the idea, and then I finally caved in to watch it. And it's like, Adam Sandler, man, what the actual F? Yeah, I mean, he basically plays like a Bobby Boucher Waterboy type character where it's like, is this person slow? He doesn't drive a car. He rides a bike, wears a helmet, and, talks a peculiar way. I thought it was interesting. They did a few callbacks like O'Doyle. They incorporate O'Doyle. I think there was Ben Stiller, surprise spoiler cameo as the orderly. And I mean, it genuinely had me guessing, I guess, because it is a bit of a murder, like not a murder mystery, but there's a mysterious element to it. But the humor is just like, and I guess it's good and maybe that's what he's going for. He has 2 daughters. They're in that tweenish kind of age range, maybe a little bit younger. So I think that's the kind of humor he's going for, is like, this is gonna be for 10-year-olds. So if you have a family, with 10-year-olds, have at it. That's like right up your alley. But if you're not, and you're just like looking for that classic Adam Sandler type humor, you're not really gonna get it. Although, what's her name? Julie Bowen, I think it is, from Modern Family. She was, can't remember her name in Happy Gilmore, but she comes back as like the romantic interest, and she is, put her right up there with Kate Walsh. Is like, I don't know how that's possible to look that way. So goddamn hot. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind like a goofy Halloween movie. Not with like actual goofy, although I guess that wouldn't be bad either. But something silly, just like I'm in that type of vibe. I'm in that mood. And I think Sandler knew that. And he's like, we just got to give people what they want. It doesn't have to be all blood curdling screams and knives and whatnot. But like Ray Liotta was in it. Tim Meadows. What's her face? Maya Rudolph. I don't know. It's like so many opportunities where it's like, could you just do maybe one more rewrite with a couple more people in the room? I mean, it was a good message. I'll give it that. And I mean, I was definitely curious to see who it was. They definitely threw a couple curveballs at you. But man, what I wouldn't give to be Adam Sandler. Just fucking, you have like the green light to make whatever movie you want. It's going to be profitable somehow from your perspective. And you just invite all your friends, all your famous friends, and just fucking, don't stress it. Man, that is life. All right. So that's my fucking boring ass existence. Can you believe it? Let's talk Giants. We'll do the quick recap of the Week 6 game against the Washington football team. Heading into this game, I said last week that this was a must win, and we did win. A win is a win is a win, right? That's how that saying goes. This is about as ugly as a win as we could get. And in my mind, it probably should have been a loss. Dustin Hopkins hits that opening field goal. And we don't get that fumble return for a touchdown. I mean, we're looking at a loss. So were we lucky? Were we fortunate? Absolutely. I mean, we also got screwed on that one interception call where Kendall Fuller was for sure 1,000% out of bounds when he landed on that red zone interception thrown by Danny Dimes. But, we'll take it. I mean, we talk about games that we should have won that we lost, like the Dallas game and possibly the Chicago game, possibly the Rams game. And so for us to come out on the other side of that coin is whatever. I guess you can't complain. It doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence. For me, it was like I was hoping we'd come in and win by a score or two. And it looked like that way early on, but then just like a play here, a play there, not getting a call here, not getting a call there, and we just let them hang around. Heading into this game, the Giants had one of the top 5 best fantasy defenses against quarterbacks. They were averaging about 15 points, 16 points allowed, which is 5th best among defenses. And, considering the quarterbacks that they faced, pretty good stuff. Big Ben, and you had Trubisky, Mullins, okay, not so great. But then you had Jared Goff, Dak Prescott for probably 2.5 quarters. And then you go up against Kyle Allen, who replaced Cam Newton in Carolina and I didn't get to watch him too extensively when he was in Carolina, but I feel like he wasn't that bad. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Washington is one of the best, is the 3rd ranked best fantasy defense versus wide receivers heading into this game, averaging less than 18 fantasy points allowed across all receivers. And that's going up against some decent units. Philadelphia's meh. Baltimore's kind of meh. Cleveland, you got Landry and OBJ. LA, you have Cooper Kupp, Woods. You have a pretty good receivers there. And then Carolina, where it's like, I think they have maybe like Robbie Anderson, who's actually leading the league in receiving yards, I think. Receptions, something like that. And then DJ Moore. So kind of up and coming wide receivers. And our receivers have been pretty awful. And whether you want to blame that on the talent, not getting enough separation, or on the play calling, not creating separation. I didn't really cover that in my preview. I should have, but you can see that we were in store for, a pretty lackluster effort from our receivers. Giants were the second best fantasy defense against tight ends coming into this Washington game behind the Colts. And that's, facing Eric Ebron in Pittsburgh, who I have on my fantasy team, who sucks. Jimmy Graham with Chicago has probably lost a step. Whoever the fuck George Kittle's backup was that tore us up. Gerald Everett and Hubie with the Rams. And then we had Blake Jarwin's backup as he exited the game early. So we haven't really faced top-notch tight ends. And then in this game, we're facing like Logan Thomas, who was like on our team as a quarterback a few years ago, So it's like, what's the worst that could happen? Turns out, he can actually put on a show. And then the Washington football team was, on the flip side, had the 4th worst fantasy defense against tight ends, allowing an average of almost 13 points per game. And so you think, maybe this is the game that Evan Ingram has his breakout and gets off the schneid and looks like he's back performing at levels where we know he can. And this is the confidence boost he needs. And I don't think he didn't really do anything. Yet again, I think that's probably an indictment on Garrett. But so we'll do a drive-by-drive breakdown. We talked about the opening field goal that Hopkins missed, 47-yarder. Howard Cross. We were listening to it on the radio because we were late getting to the watch party. And Howard Cross was mentioning it, in the pre-games that the kickers were having trouble with the wind. So I think that's had contributed to it. 12 play drive. And this goes back to like the Giants just stink on the opening drive defensively. We cannot like just get a 3-and-out. Can't just force a punt on our opening drive. I think that the opposing team has scored on the opening drive every single freaking time. And a lot of plays. I mean, almost every drive that Washington had in this game was double digits, which is insane. This first opening drive was all running backs: McKissick, J.D. McKissick, Peyton Barber, and Antonio Gibson. And looking at some of the plays that from the highlights, it's like you could see the linebackers were really dropping deep to cover these like dig in routes, making sure the tight end was squeezed in between the safety and just letting Washington have these underneath balls, thinking that we could come up and make the tackle. And sometimes we did, and sometimes we didn't. And it would go for like 9 yards a clip. I don't know if that's the best approach, especially considering what our offense is, but we had a pretty good drive. In response after the missed field goal, big play action to Evan Ingram for 21 yards. That was like one of his only big catches of the day. Then we stalled in the red zone again. 3rd and 8 at the Washington 11, and we give up a sack. Cam Fleming couldn't protect against Ryan Kerrigan, who apparently is like trade bait for Washington. I guess they're going to look into trade him, I guess. So many red zone trips, and we're just so awful in the red zone. We're like among the league's worst in the red zone. And it's just sad. It's just sad at this point. If we just convert on like half or like a third of those red zone trips, what our record would be. Ooh. Get giddy thinking about it. The next Washington drive. Again, play action. Why we deviate from it, I don't know, especially early on in the game when, it's hard to tell whether the run game is, whether the defense has a beat on it. So you should be more prone to use it in the beginning of the game because you're not sure how the defense is going to respond, if they're going to respect it or not. So I don't know why we're not doing that more often. And then there's some stats about the read option and whatever zone reads later on in a little bit that are just like mind blowing that with those statistics that we don't go with it more. Next drive, Allen throws a shitty pass and James Bradbury picks it off. Holla back. And for once, the Giants make the most of it. We don't fail to capitalize on it. We turn a turnover into a touchdown, which is what you got to do if you want to succeed in this league. Shotgun formation, Jones pass deep left, Darius Slayton for 23 yards. Slayton looked like he hurt himself, like his foot or his toe came up a little gimpy, but a nice catch, nice throw, beautiful throw with a guy in his face. I guess Matt Parrott started at left tackle for Andrew Thomas, who was being benched because he was late to a meeting, which I don't know. You got to respect it, right? It's the old Tom Coughlin way of thinking. But Danny Dimes Jones standing in there, taking the hit and throwing a dime. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. He threw a perfect pass, but Parrott held his own. Did get kind of beat towards the end, and I think it was Montez Sweat or maybe it was Chase Young got a hand on Jones, but it was not enough to interrupt the flow. And then the following drive, Leonard Williams gets a big sack, 14-yard loss. It's 3rd and 24 from the Giants' 37. We hold them there. If we hold them there, you're looking at a 54-yard field goal, which Hopkins already missed from 47. Do they kick it from 54 yards out? I don't know. I mean, Riverboat Ron, he's a gambler. He likes to take chances, but I don't know that he wants to take another chance with Hopkins and then give us the ball in pretty good position. And if he does kick it, does Hopkins correct himself and is able to hit it? I don't know. Instead, we give up a 20-yard pass. Allen, we played so far off, and Allen throws it to McLaurin on like a bubble screen, flash screen, and McLaurin turns it into big yards. Goes down to the Giants 17. Of course, they're able to kick the field goal. Ensuing drive. So we're now looking at it's 10-3, right? We got 10, they got 3. Jones goes on a nice 49-yard run. He fakes to Freeman. He faked out the cameraman and just burns by everyone. One of the fastest quarterbacks in the league. People call, Darius Slayton call him Daniel Jackson. Some people call him Vanilla Vic. Not a fan of that because of Vic's history, not only of dog killing, but also of playing with the Eagles. So maybe we got to come up with a different name. But yeah, I mean, this is what you got to do. You got to do designed runs with him because he's our top rusher. He's one of the 3 quarterbacks in the league that are like the top, also the top rusher on the offensive side of the ball. It's him, Lamar Jackson, and I don't think it's Kyler Murray. I can't remember the third one. Apologies. So, first and goal at the Washington 6. Got to be a touchdown. Absolutely. You can't settle for a field goal there. That's a Washington win when you settle for a field goal. First and goal to 6, you have got to come up with a play. There has to be a play in your arsenal that is foolproof, that you know your team can execute, that you know you can get them open, you can know someone is Mr. Dependable inside the 5, inside the 10, inside the 20. There has to be someone like that. And we don't have that guy. We don't have someone like that. That should have been a touchdown. And then we had of course, the other drive that ended in the Kendo Fuller interception that probably should have been 6. Then we were down close and deep in Washington territory. So we settled for the field goal. It's 13-3. We should be up. It feels like we're crushing it in that, like, we're running away with this game. If not, slow jog. It's not exactly a sprint away with the game, but it's a slow jog away with the game. Like, we have things in control. And then again, end of the first half, end of the half. So it's the opening drives and the end of the half that really have just been diabolical, excruciating for our defense. 2nd and 17 at the Washington 34. Then we had a 3rd and 9 at the Washington 42. Washington picks up the first down. They had a 4th and 9 at the Giants 45. And then we get a running into the punter. A Blake Martinez defensive holding. And then we get the touchdown pass to Logan Thomas. What? Yeah, it's just like beating ourselves. So it's 13-10 at half. Second half, third quarter starts off. We get the big play, 23-yard run from Daniel Jones, scrambling up the middle. He gets hit, unnecessary roughness. We get, so then we're enforced at the Giants 39. We get 3rd and 1 at the Washington 37. We get stuffed. Can't have it happen. You just can't. 4th and 2, we line up, but then we don't go for it. We try to draw Washington off sides, and instead we take the delay game. I say go for it. We could have gone for it. We could have kicked a field goal. It would have been a 55-yarder. Who knows what Gano, Gano's great on turf without the elements. Maybe not so much in the Meadowlands, but see what you're working with. See what you're twerking with there. Instead, we punted. So it felt like a cop-out. Luckily, Washington goes 3 and out. And then this was the killer. Giants go on a 14-play, 64-yard drive. It's mostly the Devonta Freeman show. 18-yard pass to Darius Slayton over the middle. He looks like he's injured and he's hurt and he's limping, which is not great because we literally don't have anyone else to throw the ball to in terms of receivers. And then 1st and goal at the Washington 7. Jones, I think, tries play action. He's getting rushed and he just throws it. I don't know if he's trying to throw it away. He's trying to throw it to Slayton in the end zone, but he doesn't get enough. He either overthrows Slayton or he doesn't get enough on it to throw it out of the back of the end zone. And Fuller comes up with a diving interception that, his elbow was out. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck the ref's looking at on the review, but so instead of points, we come away with nothing. That's another I mean, it's just like the Steelers drive, 19 plays, no points. This Washington drive, 14 plays, no points. This David Powis, I don't know who it is. David Powis on Twitter said the Giants have 10 drives of 10 or more plays this year, and they've scored a touchdown on one. That's got to be a record. Has to be. And that's an insane record to have. That you can string together that kind of successful drive. To get 10 plays, you're doing something right once every 3 or 4 downs, you know? And then to come away with just one touchdown on all those drives. And there have been multiple drives where they come away with no points. What are we doing? And it's remarkable and flabbergasting that Daniel Jones did not have a red zone interception all of last year or his senior or junior years of college. And now he has 2, maybe 3 red zone interceptions. Maybe 4. I don't know. But they're killers. So I don't know how you clean it up. Better play calling, better protection, better decision making. And that's why even though we got the win and we'll get into that, but we'll talk about the fourth quarter first. So Washington responds with a 14-play drive of their own, and they end up getting a field goal. And then we have, a couple series go by, nothing really happens. And then you have the Kyle Allen fumble, Kyler Fackrell with the forced fumble. Joe Judge reviewed this play on the Joe Judge report. And it's interesting to see you had Cam Brown coming off the left edge, who actually went a little bit too far. He didn't really contain as much as Judge would have liked, but Leonard Williams was able to fill in so that Kyle Allen couldn't scramble to the left. He had a stunt with Fackrell and Martinez, so I think Martinez comes up the middle and Fackrell comes to the outside, or maybe it's Martinez pushes up straight forward the field and the Fackrell comes around up and then ends up catching Allen and then stripping him. And then Tate Crowder somehow picks up the ball and scampers 43 yards to a touchdown. I don't know if I was just buzzed or drunk or what, but I thought it looked like he was running in goddamn molasses, like slow motion for me. I mean, I yelled, run faster. That's all I yelled was run faster, because all I could see was Terry McLaurin tearing ass, and if it weren't for Cam Brown, who actually, because he came out so wide, was in a good position to get the block on McLaurin to at least give Crowder enough of a chance to score, which was great. And then Martinez also got a block. So that's two defensive touchdowns in 2 weeks. You like what the defense is doing. You just kind of wonder why they break down it on the opening drive and on the last drive of the first half. If they can get that under control, we'd be in a much better spot. Now, obviously, it's like I'm not saying the offense shouldn't be to blame. I mean, the offense is completely to blame for the losses that we have. But I'm just saying, maybe our defense can really carry us even more by not having these letdowns at the beginning of the game and towards the end of the first half. So we have 3.5 minutes left in the game, 2013. And you figure, okay, the defense has played really well up to this point. The one touchdown, it was Logan Thomas, who is just outsized. They had Julian Love on Logan Thomas, which I did not understand, on the outside. And of course, Logan Thomas won that battle. So they got to figure out what to do with Julian Love. There's some talk about how that he should not be a safety. They're going to move him to corner, but does he play better on the outside? Yes, against the receiver. No, against the tight end. So it's a matter of just I don't know, tinkering some more. I feel like that's that's all we've done is just tinker and most defenses are set. They know what they are. They know what they're doing. This defense is still like figuring it out. The offense is just has no clue, but the defense at least seems to be getting a little bit better. I thought that they were going to have a good game this week, and they did, but then it's like 3.5 left in the game. You allow a 10-play touchdown drive. You had 3rd and 5 at the Washington 30, and you let up an 18-yard pass to McLaurin. You have a 3rd and 7 at the New York 49, and you allow a 13-yard pass to J.D. McKissick. And then you have a 2nd and 10 at the New York 22, and Allen hits Cam Sims for a 22-yard touchdown. It was a double move out and up on Logan Ryan, who is a veteran. You'd think he wouldn't fall for that kind of shit, but he did. And now it's 2019 with 43 seconds left. And you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, we're actually going into overtime against the Washington football team. And who knows what happens in overtime. Instead, Riverboat Ron, like only Riverboat Ron can do, decides to go for it and gamble, roll the dice, and go for the 2-point conversion, which, on the road, play for the win on the road, play for the tie at home. Is that the saying? Maybe I have it reversed. But they go for 2 points, and then the defense actually does put on a pretty good stand on the 2-point conversion. You had Dexter Lawrence get some pressure and get a hit on Kyle, forcing him to throw the ball early. And we come away with the win. And we get the nice gymnastics display from Jabril Peppers, who is like battling an injury. It was like, I know I'm like old man shouting at the clouds, but I'm also like, Jabril, you've had such issues with injuries. Let's not tempt fate. Glad you're happy. Glad we got the win. But let's not pull like a fucking, what's his name? That kicker from the Cardinals who hurt himself celebrating. Guantanamera? No, that wasn't his name. Grammatica. Jesus. So yeah, we get the win. It's by 1 point. We probably should have lost, but a win's a win. And now we're 1-5. And the Cowboys got their shit pushed in. Sorry to get so graphic, but they did against the Cardinals at home in a major big time blowout. And so now they are 2-4. They 2-5. So, I mean, as I mentioned, we're kind of we're not in a bad spot. Somehow, after starting 0-5, we're now like a game out of first place. Basically, if we beat the Eagles on Thursday night, I think we're either in a tie for first or we're half a game out of first. Yeah, Cowboys are 2-4. So we beat the Eagles on Thursday night. We go to 2-5. Cowboys lose to go 2-5. The Eagles will go to 1-5-1. We'd be in a tie for first, but I think the Cowboys would have the tiebreaker. Stranger things have happened, but this performance didn't really inspire a lot of confidence. Now you could say, and this is where you get into that game of like, well, this team beat that team and we beat that team, and so this ipso facto, let's not forget, Philly lost to Washington. So there's that. And I don't know what Philly team we're going to get, because they were getting blown out by the Rams and then they made a comeback, made it interesting. And then they were getting blown out by the Ravens, came back and made it interesting. And they've got an insane amount of injuries as well, which we'll get to. But let's take a look at the team stats from this past week. I mean, we just 240 yards, total yards, 108 passing yards. 132 rushing yards. We have more rushing yards than passing yards. Unreal. We did average more per play, yards per play. We only allowed 1 sack. And I know that people were saying there was like a stat that was going around like, the offensive line for the Giants has been much maligned over the first 5 weeks, but they only allowed 5 pressures in the game against Washington. It's like, yeah, but we only passed the ball 19 times. And we allowed a sack and a pressure. So it was like almost, it's not a great percentage to say the least, but only the one sack, and it was a big one. When they were in around the 10-yard line, and could have scored. We said that Matt Peart started for Andrew Thomas. He was according to PFF, the highest graded player for the Giants offense yesterday with 25 or more snaps, graded at 89.7 overall, including 93.4 in the run block department, while giving up a pressure on 11 pass block snaps. Excellent performance from the rookie third rounder. So now you have people coming out of the woodworks, coming out of the wood shop, coming out of the forest, coming out of the closet, saying that Matt Peart should be the starter on Thursday at left tackle. And then you have Andrew Thomas starting at right tackle. And it's like, didn't we just say that Cam Fleming was the highest graded offensive lineman through 4 or 5 weeks? What is going on? Which leads me to believe, like, I don't know what to believe. Like, what is PFF? What is it? What are they looking at? Why would you sit Fleming if he's the highest graded? And why are you going to sit Andrew Thomas, your first rounder, to play your third rounder? Ay. But hey, maybe that is the answer. I don't know. Can Fleming play center? I don't know. I guess Gates is doing all right. Giants had converted 63% of third downs, which is nice. But yet again, Washington converted 53%. We just cannot figure out third down. Washington dominated the time of possession, and that's pretty much why Jones had only 19 pass attempts. 12 of 19 for 112 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Those look like my high school numbers, but better, obviously. He also led the team in rushing, 7 carries, 74 yards. I think, like I said, we got to start doing more of these design runs with him. We just have to. They work, and we pick up tons of yardage. And it keeps the defense on their toes, They're going to have to start accounting for him. And if we can hold the linebacker, or the spy, whoever's on him, keeping tabs on him, to make sure he doesn't run with it, that means that someone's going to can fill in behind. And then you have yet another route over the top, and then you can pick and choose, my man. That's where the money's at. Freeman had a decent game, 18 carries, 61 yards. I mean, this is what you're going to get from him. He averages about, a little more than 3 yards, but at least he's averaging a little more than 3 yards. Say it every week. At least it's not averaging 1 or 2. I'll take 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And it looks like he's moving a little bit better now. It looks like he's able to evade some tackles, and he's hitting the hole a little bit harder, faster. I had someone comment on my Devonta Freeman video that he's not even a top 20 running back in the NFL. And I'm like, yeah, no one's arguing that. And then he said, just saying. I'm like, well, I'm just saying, would you rather have Deion Lewis handling 18 carries a game? No. So, Slayton only 2 grabs for 41 yards, but he did have the touchdown, obviously hampered. I don't know. I mean, I guess we're going to go over the injury report in a little bit, but it looks like he is in a limited practice. So I guess that's a good sign. But I don't know that he's going to be super effective on Thursday. Ingram, 2 catches, 30 yards, 3 targets. Meh. Caden Smith, 3 targets, 3 catches, 15 yards. Golden Tate, 1 catch, 11 yards. Ay, Chihuahua. I mean, he's just fallen off a cliff. And maybe that's on Garrett. You can't rule out what Garrett has been calling. And I'll say this, at least, can't believe I'm about to say this, but what if you had Shurmur still calling plays with this defense? Would we see more wins than we are right now? I can't believe I just said that, but it's like Garrett is not, in my mind, is not calling that much better a game than Shurmur. Logan Ryan led the team in tackles yet again. Sack and a tackle for loss. Blake Martinez, 14 tackles. Holy shit. Tate Crowder, 10 tackles. I mean, what a find. Mr. Irrelevant. Very relevant for us lately. A lot of tackles, a lot of big plays. And then we find out, yeah, he's injured. Hamstring, placed on the IR, has to sit out for at least 3 games, so he'll obviously miss the Philly game, he'll miss the Tampa game, and then he'll miss the next Washington game. So when you see IR, you get a little like, and it was a hamstring injury at that. So it's like, I'm back in this hamstring injury, man. I mean, I know, what was it? Slayton had a hammy issue that prevented him from playing early on in the season. I know that OBJ, his rookie season, had a hammy problem that kept him out a few games. So I'm not discounting or discrediting the hamstring at all. My hammies are feeling kind of tight right now, to be honest. TBH. It just sucks. Like, such a big game. And to have that carry over into Philly would have been so awesome. But we do have David Mayo back. He was active for the Washington game. He's probably going to see a lot more snaps in the game on Thursday. Peppers had another good game, although he got a little shaken up, which was concerning, a little scary. Leonard Williams had another good game. He had the sack. Kyler Fackrell with the sack, forced fumble, who was just playing top-notch football. And then Dalvin Tomlinson had 7. This is where it's like, who's actually counting tackles? Because he had 7 assists and 1 solo. That I've never seen a stat line like that. 1 solo, 7 assists. Okay. Graham Gano was money as always. And Riley Dixon, not a great game. He did have a punt inside the 20, but averaged 35 yards, long of 46. Yet again, only 2 punts. McKissick had a day, 8 carries, 41 yards. Allen, 31 of 42, 282 touchdowns and interception. Washington is the only team in the NFL to not have a player with 60 or more rushing yards in any game this season. So you thought our rushing attack was anemic. Washington can't get it figured out either. Terry McLaurin had a pretty good day. 12 targets, 7 catches, 74 yards. Logan Thomas, 3 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Montez Sweat, 2 solos, 1 tackle for a loss. Ryan Kerrigan, 1 tackle, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Chase Young, 2 total tackles, 1 solo, 1 assist, 1 tackle for loss. So it's like Sweat, Kerrigan, and Young didn't have like a crazy good game. You'd think with that trio that they would be fucking, and Jonathan Allen. Am I thinking, is that the same Jonathan Allen? I don't know. As the high pick? I don't know. Probably not. But if you can hold that trio to those kind of numbers, you should be having yourself a pretty good, decent day. So like I mentioned, Giants placed Tay Crowder in the IR with the hammy, and they signed veteran defensive end Jabal Sheard off the Jaguars practice squad, take his place. Sheard will not be eligible to play against the Eagles. But, get some depth, to help out with probably on passing situations, passing downs, because like our pass rush has been kind of, seems like we can only really get pressure when it's like some kind of intricate blitz design. Not great reflection of our natural organic pass rush, I guess you would say. You don't have a guy that can just, like a Khalil Mack, who can just rush off the edge and get you a sack. Like, you have to get the linebackers involved, the secondary involved. You have to bring multiple people from multiple angles, stunts and all that. You have to design a pass rush as opposed to just letting 4 guys just go at it with their best moves. Who knows how Sheard factors into that, but I think his connection to Joe Judge and having played in New England before, maybe that's something that they can lean into. And I mentioned this, teased this at the beginning of the episode. The surprise trade candidate that I didn't even think about, that apparently is gaining some traction, Sterling Shepard. I know. I mean, we just gave the dude a 4-year, $41 million contract. And then, the first year in the contract, he has a concussion, he's banged up. And the second year contract, he gets a toe or foot injury and he's banged up. And it's like, is this kind of like what we're dealing with every freaking year? Possibly. What team would take a risk on him? I don't know. Thinking like maybe it's just, new training staff, new you, that type of thing. So, honestly, I don't know. I love Sterling Shepard. I love Shep. But everyone's got a price. $1 million man, quote unquote. Everyone's got a price. So it's like, what would you take for him? I don't know. His contract isn't over until 2023, but we have a potential out after the 2021 season. And we would incur about $4 million in dead cap if that were the case. So I don't know. You're a year and a quarter into this contract. And, you're seeing a lot of what you saw in like 2017, where like he was banged up. 2018, he had some injuries here and there. 2019 injuries, 2020 injuries. At what point do you say, well, he's not going to really, when he's on the field and healthy, the contract makes complete sense. It's like a steal. But the fact that he's missing so many games, it's like, I don't know. Godspeed. What would you take for him, though? He was what round was he? I want to say he was a third rounder, but maybe he was a fourth rounder. Sterling Shepard draft. Number 40 overall pick. So I think he was is that second round? Yeah, second round. All right. So what would you take for him? Third rounder? I don't know that you'd get a second rounder for him. Be nice, but I think you'd probably get a third round for him. Someone offers a fourth, do you take it? Ugh, I don't think so, right? It's got to be a third. I would think of a third round draft pick at least, and then try and push for a second rounder. Someone has an extra second rounder. Whatever team has that extra second rounder, take that off their hands. That'd be sweet. But I wouldn't go lower than a third, right? I don't have my draft chart in front of me, but something to consider. I think people would love to get rid of Golden Tate. It's just like, what team is going to pick him up? What team has seen enough out of him this year to say, yeah, we need that on our team? He's the difference for us between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs, or from us taking a first round exit to potentially going deep. Golden Tate's the answer? I don't know. So this game is important on a few levels. This game, and I guess the Tampa game, because I thought that the trade deadline was late in October, but I think it's actually that first week in November. November 3rd. Gotta look at the calendar here, November 3rd. All right, November 3rd. It's a Tuesday. So we play the Bucks on Monday, right? So we have this game, which is Thursday the 22nd. And then we don't play again until Monday the 2nd. So we got a long ass time to figure out what trade pieces make sense. So this game really is really going to make or break a lot of decisions, I feel like, for Gettleman. Say we come out and we win this game and Shepard looks serviceable, looks good, has 6 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. The ill effects of his foot injury, non-apparent. Doesn't look like he's been that. It looks like he's recovered and he's back to his old self. Is that enough for you to go out to teams and be like, hey, what do you think? Good old Shep. If likewise, if Golden Tate comes out and we win So, like, if we win, does that mean we're now in buy mode and we're not trading for draft picks and we're looking to acquire a receiver? That's really the key here. If we win, I think that's how it goes. That's how Gettleman's going to think of things. And am I in agreement with it? He's trying to save his job, you know. A lot of people have refused to acknowledge this rebuild that's just never ending. So it's like, if we go 2-5, we're now almost tied for first place with the possibility of going on a run. If we only had another receiver in the mix, do we trade for a receiver? Oof. I just don't think a receiver is really going to make the difference. I mean, it would definitely help. That's for sure. I'm not saying it wouldn't help at all, but I don't know if that is the difference between us being a playoff team and not being a playoff team. If you lose this game, I think you have to go into sell mode, right? I mean, they should be in sell mode regardless. But we've seen what happens with Gettleman, like trading for Leonard Williams last year when it's like, I don't think we have a shot. So if we win, I think he's going to try and spin it into a buy mode. Who knows what he gives up for it? Hopefully not a lot of draft picks. And then if we lose, I think he definitely goes into sell mode. So a lot hinges on this game. So let's preview it. The Week 7 game against the Eagles, Thursday Night Football. And I'm going to give you some statistics. And a lot of them aren't good statistics. But there is a silver lining. There is a bright horizon. There's sun on the horizon. We have lost 7 games in a row to the Philadelphia Eagles dating back to 2016. These numbers are jarring, by the way. I looked at them and I was like, holy shit. I mean, I knew we've struggled against Philadelphia. I had no idea when you look at it all in the same, like, when you see it just like laid out in a spreadsheet and you just see all those L's in one column, you're like, whoa, dude. We've lost 7 in a row dating back to 2016. We've only won 4 games since we won on November 9th, 2018. So 12 years ago. I was 20. I just turned 28 when we had that win on November 9th, 2008. We won 4 games in 12. I'm about to turn 40. We won 4 games in 12 years against the Eagles. Oh my goodness. We've played head-to-head 24 times, and we're 4-20. Now, it's not like it's been no contest in those 20 games. 11 of those 20 losses since November 2008 have come by 1 score or less, so like 8 points or less. So, you had the miracle at the Meadowlands too. You had that shootout, I think in 09 or one of those seasons, 11. You had the 2017 game, the 2018 game. We lost by 3. We lost on a 60-fucking-3-yarder, just some rookie kicker. Like, just a bunch of wacky stuff went down that resulted in losses that probably should have been wins. But at the same time, we're in a slump. And I was looking back through the history, through the annals of time at the head-to-head records. This slump that we're currently in is eerily similar to the stretch from 1970 to 81, which were the dark days, the dark era of the Giants franchise. 81 is when we got off the schneid and finally got back in the playoffs. First time in the playoffs since like 63, something like that. But we lost 12 in a row from 1975 to 1981. Now, why do I bring that up? So here's the silver lining. Here's every dusk has its dawn. It's always darkest before the dawn. That kind of, all that bullshit cliche stuff. 81, we make the playoffs. We finally get back to the playoffs. LT's a rookie. We got Harry Carson, Crunch Bunch, and we turn that into what becomes the Parcells era, the 80s, and an extended period of success Now, we still had like wacky losses to the Eagles during that time, but we got back on the winning side of the coin. So maybe this is us emerging from our cocoon, from this slump, and we now enter into a period of another golden era. I don't know. That's just me. You know me, Mr. Positivity. So let's take a look at the Eagles offense. They're scoring about 24 a game. It's ranked 22nd in the league. They're third in rushing yards per attempt and first in turnover percentage. So these motherfuckers love to hand the opposing team the ball. But they are pretty good in the red zone. 73% in the red zone, which we're not. Yeah, you'll see. We're not close to that. Carson Wentz has been sacked 25 times, the most in the NFL. His sack yardage of 177 yards is the most in the NFL. He's also tied for the most fumbles in the league. So everyone chirping Danny Dimes and Daniel Jones for being Freddie Fumbles. I might want to take a look 90 miles down the turnpike. Eagles also have the second highest sack percentage. And Miles Sanders, before he got hurt, was the third in rushing yards per attempt and per game. And the Eagles are eighth in rushing yards. The good news for Giants fans, bad news for Eagles fans, is that Miles Sanders is probably out for the next, definitely for this game and maybe for another few weeks after that. The Eagles defense, not much better than the offense. They allow almost 30 points a game, which is ranked 23rd in the league. They're ninth in net yards per pass attempt and 11th in rushing yards per attempt. So they don't give up a bunch of yards per attempt. They're also top 10 in fumbles forced, but they're next to last in rushing touchdowns. And they really suck in the red zone. 72% of scores of red zone trips result in a score, which is sixth worst in the NFL. They're the most penalized defense in the NFL, and they allow the sixth most yards after catch. They do not blitz a lot, but opposing teams and DC's defensive coordinators love to bring the house against Daniel. So we'll probably see an uptick in blitzes. They are top 5 in sacks, and they do have a better pass defense. So what does that mean for the Giants offense? Hopefully better success in the red zone. That's for damn sure. Hopefully more yards after the catch. Hopefully we'll catch a few penalties here and there to give us some first downs. We're still next to last in points per game. Jones has been sacked 17 times, which is fourth most in the NFL, but we're dead last in passing touchdown percentage, which, red zone interceptions and just crucial sacks. It's just not great. Next to last in first downs by run. We're fourth worst in net yards per pass attempts, fourth worst in yards per play. Tied for third in turnovers, third in turnover percentage, third worst rushing yards per game, and eighth worst scoring percentage, and we're 25% in the red zone. Is there anything redeeming about this offense? The answer is no. So maybe this is the game we turn it around. The Eagles defense held the 49ers offense in check. I don't know if that's because Nick Mullins just had a shitty game. I didn't really watch all of it. I know that they struggled with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And if Garrett watches that tape and says, hey, we have our own Lamar Jackson, let's just follow that game plan, maybe we'll have the same kind of success. But with Slayton banged up, Tate needs to come out. Hopefully Shepard comes back. If Shepard comes back, that'll be huge, because I think Slayton's not going to be, is going to be just a living, breathing decoy. He's not going to be able to do much. And then that means Tate needs to step up his game. And fucking Evan Ingram, dude. Let's go, Jason Garrett. Figure it out. Giants defense. We're allowing about 25 points per game. It's middle of the road in the NFL. We're fifth in scoring percentage. 50% of offensive drives end in a score. We're fifth in rushing yards per attempt, eighth in rushing yards allowed, sixth in fumbles forced, eighth in yards per play, and tied for the sixth most first downs by pass. We're also top 10 in sacks. We have a better run defense, and we're top 10 in the red zone percentage. We allow the ninth most points per drive, but the second most time per drive, and we're tied for the first most plays per drive. So we don't give up a lot of yards per attempt, but we just keep giving up first downs, usually by pass. And that just goes back to what we've been saying. We are good on first down, not so great on second down, and then piss poor on third down. How do we stop that? And I feel like you're going to see a lot of that on Thursday night, where it's like we shut them down on first down. They pick up enough on second down to make the third down manageable, and then they're able to convert on third down. There are a couple injuries to look out for. Miles Sanders, as I mentioned, I think he's out a couple weeks. Zach Ertz is also out 3 to 4 weeks. Dallas Goedert was already on injured reserve with an ankle injury, but he could be eligible to return this week, which would be huge for Philly. Malik Jackson is looking at 2-week absence, and offensive tackle Jack Driscoll, who was filling in for Lane Johnson, might be out as well. And then Lane Johnson, I think he had a limited practice today, so he might not be available on Thursday night. And normally I would say all these injuries work in our favor and we're going to take advantage of it, but we haven't really shown that so far. Deshaun Jackson is expected to make his return from a hamstring injury. I think Alshon Jeffrey had a limited practice. So I think the Eagles might be getting some people back. Honestly, I think it's going to be, it's going to be a close game. I think the defense is going to make some plays here and there, but I think they're going to continue to fall into this like weird trend of like not getting off the field and letting up huge crucial third downs that Wentz will look like a magician, and our offense is going to struggle, plain and simple, unless Shepard comes out and is able to provide a huge boost. I mean, if you remember last year, the Eagles were all kinds of banged up, and Boston Scott went wild on us. I guess that was the home game that they were, because we played them twice in December. In the first game, they were banged up. We went up early with Eli at the helm, 2 big touchdowns to Slayton, and then it was like the offense just disappeared, and the defense allowed the other Wentz and company to get back in the game with Ertz, and they ended up winning and coming back. And then the home game, it was like all Boston Scott. So, do I have my hopes up for this one? I mean, if we can win this game, I will get a second, third, possibly fourth wind, and really start to believe a lot more. But if I can't see it at this point. I think the Eagles are favored by 3.5. And I can very easily see this coming down to like a last second field goal or touchdown from Philly. Just because for whatever reason, this Giants defense, it's like the crucial points in the game, opening drive when you're trying to establish a tone, we can't get off the field. So we'll probably let up a field goal or touchdown there. End of the half, there'll be points by Philly. So you can, it'll be 6 to 14 points in the beginning and the end of the first half. And then you're looking at probably another score towards the end of the game. And that could be the difference. I Eagles fans, I don't think they want to win this from what I've seen. Because they want change. They feel like they just need change. That the personnel that they have, the talent they have, is not going to get it done. Whereas we're like 2 ships passing in the night. It just feels like we feel like we're getting some good play. We have good players in place. We just need to add more and more good players. Whereas they've had the players that have been good, but maybe are past their prime. I don't know. But if I had to put a prediction, tough to say. I mean, take a look at these numbers again. I don't think we're going to be able to really run the ball with much success. Do you start Parrott at left tackle and Thomas at right tackle? I mean, top 5 in sacks. That's going to be the huge issue. I think the Eagles defense is really going to have a field day on Jones. So it's really up to Garrett to get Jones maybe mobile outside the pocket. Like I said, zone reads and RPOs. Where was the stat? There was a stat I had. Oh, Jordan Reynon. Did I even say this? I don't know. Giants ran 3 zone reads Sunday against Washington. Jones kept it all 3 times for 60 yards. Whoa, dude. Giants have called 9 zone reads this season, and Jones has kept 7 times for 101 yards and handed off 2 times for 8 yards. So, yeah. I mean, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Why are we not doing that more often? And I think for us to have success against Philly, knowing that they're so good against the run, you're going to have to call a lot more of that. I would call a lot more play action where we boot Jones, get him out of the pocket on the run where he can either throw or run. You know, move the pocket, RPOs, zone reads, all that stuff. You got to keep the defense off balance. And maybe we'll see some gains. But, you know, it's the Eagles. You know, I mean, if Joe Judge can go into Philadelphia and win this game, unbelievable, unreal amount of confidence. And I know the Philly is not great this year. I know the NFC East is not great this year. But if you can put together a win here, you got a whole lot of time before Tampa. You can prepare your dicks off for Tampa and Tom Brady and maybe come up with an upset there. Doubt it. But still, if you give them a tough match, even if you come in with a loss, you're 2-6, you still feel better about yourself going into the next 2 games against Washington and Philly. Because you beat them before. You put up a good showing against one of the top teams in the NFC South that dismantled and blew the Packers straight out of the water. So, huge game. You lose, I think you just go into sell mode. You win, now you have a bit of a conundrum on your hands because you got a lot of time. Gettleman's got a lot of time to think about it. And I can very easily see him trying to snatch up a receiver for multiple picks. And then it's like, if we don't make the playoffs, then it's like we've wasted the more picks that we need. So, all right. That's the Giants. We'll briefly talk about the Mets. Don't have a lot on the Mets as of recording. Right now, I'm watching I just watched the end of the World Series Game 1, Dodgers-Rays. Dodgers took it to the fucking Rays. Mookie Betts had himself a goddamn day. And I placed a bet on the Rays to win the series. And that's not looking good so far. I think a lot of people were rooting for Dodgers-Astros rematch, to see the Dodgers get revenge on the Astros. But also, there was that some people just want to watch the world burn crowd that were like, I want to see the Astros win after having like a shitty season and having like the shame tour and asterisks, and then they come back and win the World Series and just like completely throwing everything tilted. I'm glad to see the Rays made it. I almost wanted the Braves to beat the Dodgers to go to the World Series so that they could lose in the World Series. I thought that would have been a nice little touch. I guess I don't mind if the Dodgers win. I'd rather see the Dodgers win than have the Braves go and like be competitive. So it's very interesting. It's like basically like one of the biggest payrolls against one of the smallest payrolls. The fucking Rays payroll is like $28 million, which is like Robinson Cano. Is basically it. It's like just a little bit more than Robinson Cano's annual contract. Jesus Christ. But yeah, the Rays got smoked in game 1, so maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're just outmatched. Mookie Betts, dude. Whew. Cody Bellinger, Jock, Justin Turner. Whew. It's just like when people describe what Steve Cohen could turn the Mets into and refer to the Mets as the East Coast Dodgers, if that doesn't get the juices flowing, I don't know what will, if you're a Mets fan. And then I feel like Danny Abriano of SNY puts out like a quality post at least once per week. This time he talks about the Mets have 13 players eligible for salary arbitration this offseason. And I always need a refresher on arbitration because I'm just like, I just don't understand it. And I always see the word and I'm just like, all right, well, someone smarter than me figure it out. But once a player is offered arbitration, the team and that player's agent have until a set date, usually at some point in February, to come to terms with a new contract. If that doesn't happen, both sides submit salary proposals, and the player's salary is determined at a hearing by independent arbitrators, which is so funny. I think baseball is the only sport that does that. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably wrong. But I think that's pretty funny. I'm surprised more sports don't do that. So who are the 13 players? You have Conforto, Syndergaard, Diaz, Matz, Nimmo, Dom, Lugo, JD, Rosario, Castro, Heredia, who I didn't even freaking know was on the roster, Gesellman, and Shreve. And so there's a site, baseball something, that was able to put together some estimates based on performance and, I guess their best guess. Conforto would make 13.6 mil, which is, I mean, that's a steal, right? I mean, we're paying fucking like Familia and Ramos like 10 million. We paid Jed Lowry 10 million. So I feel like almost 14 mil for Conforto is a goddamn bargain. Thor would be less than 10 million, which again, bargain. Diaz, less than 7 mil, which if I know we keep saying if, but less than 7 mil for a guy that could potentially be so locked down if he can get back to 2018 and just eliminate the blown saves. Matt's 5.3 million. I don't know. I'm very hesitant to give him that money. I'm very hesitant. I think I'd let him test the market. He's just in such a bad place, like mentally, psychologically. I don't know. I would give him the 5.3, but I'd say you have to use 1 million of that on like therapy, counseling, like a spiritual guide, nutritionist, like just whatever's going to get your head right. And then send some of that my way because I need to get my head right. Nimmo, 5.2 million. That's a steal. Dom Smith, less than 4 million. I mean, like, this is amazing that we are able to get away with paying these people this amount of money, and we still have some money left over to sign some big names. So Lugo, 3.1 million. Are you kidding me? JD Davis, less than 3 million. Are you kidding me? Rosario, less than 3. Miguel Castro, less than 2 million. And like, if we can get the Castro that we saw for like 90% of his outings, 90% of his pitches, that's a fucking steal. Heredia, I don't even know who that is. So like, even 1.5 million seems like, no, don't do that. Gesellman, 1.4 million, meh. And then Chase and Shreve, 1.1 million. That also seems like a steal, even though he was kind of rocky towards the end there. If the Mets, so Abriano says, if the Mets tender contracts to all of the above players, which I wouldn't see them doing. I think there's 2 people that they won't, Matz and Heredia, possibly 3, Gesellman. If the Mets tender contracts to all the above players and receive salaries similar to what the estimates are, it would add roughly less than $60 million to the Mets payroll. And the Mets would have a little more than $76 million committed to the payroll for 2021. The luxury tax threshold for 2021 is roughly $210 million, which would give the Mets about $76 million to play with before hitting the luxury tax threshold. Now, I don't know if that it factors in the fact that like we'll be opting out Chirinos and Ramos, so we'll be saving money there. And then also, like, I think Betances is a player option and maybe Marisnik is a player option, or maybe it's a club option. Either way, we could be without Marisnik and Betances in that money. So we probably have more than 80 million realistically. So what does that do to your free agency? I mean, if Bauer's asking for more than 30 and Real Muto's like asking for 200 mil over however many years, will that leave you enough for Springer? Personally, when we talked about this before, I'd like to see Springer and Bauer and pass on Real Muto and trade for like Salvador Perez, or possibly just pick up James McCann, on a much lesser contract. And even so, say like Bauer gets like absurd with his negotiations, lock up Springer, and then end up going for one of the multiple other arms on the top free agent list that we gave out last week. Tejan Walker, Stroman, not Tanaka, Quintana, Lance Lynn. And, you know, there have been articles saying like, yeah, like the sexy picks, Quintana and Lynn are not like the sexy picks, but they got to be better than what we got out of Waka and Porcello. And that's all we need is someone who doesn't do what Waka and Porcello did. Just give us a fighting shot, because this offense is pretty damn good. And then you add like Springer to the mix. And then there's this Lindor trade that people keep talking about that is gaining momentum. And I was vehemently against it when I first heard of it. And then it's like, now it's starting to make a lot more sense, because it's like maybe you move Jimenez to the third, McNeil at second, but then what do you do with Cano? Is he the DH? And then you put Cano at third, Jimenez at second, McNeil left. You know, you can still be flexible and versatile with the lineup, but it's just, I think Jimenez is such a good glove up the middle and can cover so much ground. I don't want to ruin that. And maybe he is the next Lindor. I don't know. So, all right, that's the show. Pretty shitty show. You know, pretty shitty. But thank you so much for sticking with me and for hearing me out. All my rants, grumblings, rumblings. And big trip this coming weekend. Big time trip. Might get some big news this week. I'm not sure. Might have to make a big decision this week. But yeah, we're going to a undisclosed location this weekend. And it's going to get interesting. It's going to be good to get away from it all from a little bit. And if you have any suggestions for what I should do for my 40th birthday, just lay it on thick. I'm accepting all proposals, but they must be within 4 to 5 hours drive from where we are. And you can't tell any, yeah. So, all right, that's the show. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Adios, muchachos.